Okay, so I will be doing my presentation today on child abuse and neglect. So, what are some signs of child abuse and neglect, and what is it exactly? So, child abuse is the intentional harm or mistreatment of a child who is under the age of 18, and this abuse and neglect can appear in many forms. Oftentimes, it can be hard to identify because each case can be very unique from another. So, there's forms of physical abuse, which can result in bruising, bite marks, burns. There's mental and emotional abuse as well, which can be manipulation, hurtful words. A child may become angry and tend to lack confidence. And then there is forms of neglect, which can result in malnutrition of a child, poor hygiene. They can also have lack of interaction with the child as well, and this can allow for the child to decline in many ways. Again, this is just a few different forms of child abuse and neglect. There's many other forms that can be looked into as well. So then, what are the impacts of abuse in a child's everyday life? So it can impact their health, their lifelong well-being. It can affect their behavioral changes, so they may tend to get more irritable, angry. They may result to isolation and become depressed, and they can act out in various different emotions, which can look different for each child. Now, different children may also experience some PTSD, so post-traumatic stress disorder, which can also possibly may not affect them at their younger age, but may start to affect them as they reach an older age and closer to adult life. And then they may face some mental health conditions as the aftermath of the abuse. They may even experience some suicidal thoughts or attempts as well. And then there's also some forms of treatment and resources which can often be hard to connect a child with when the abuse or neglect has not been identified yet. So some forms of treatments or tools could be medical treatment. It can be identified possibly through a physical exam at the doctor's office. There could be counseling and therapy involved for the children. These can even take place sometimes at schools and school environments to have counseling resources. There's also therapy for parents and children, so not just the children as well. Now, how do we report child abuse and how can we go about this process? So mandated reporters are legally required to report any form of abuse or neglect or just suspected abuse that they may think could be something more than just a scratch or a bruise or a child making an odd comment that doesn't sit right. So this can be reported at any ages under the age of 18. So someone who is a mandated reporter is an example of a teacher, anyone who works in childcare, a campus supervisor of the school side, a principal, an office manager, a doctor, even a nurse. Anybody who sees it can report as well. So you can call the hotline for suspected abuse or neglect, and then also a written report must be done as well and submitted either to the email address or the address that it could be mailed to. And actually, mandated reporters are not supposed to keep a copy of the report, not supposed to keep a paper trail. It's supposed to go directly to the to wherever the report is made, specifically the Child Welfare Services. So if you think a child is endangered, and there's also a 24-hour hotline that you can call immediately, and that phone number is 805-654-3200. And everything that is said is kept confidential, and it will be looked at in further detail by the investigators. So now, what is the job of CPS? So they receive the reports and determine if an investigation must be opened for that specific child or case. Now, the CPS report provides support to families and providing resources, therapy, and counseling for both the child and the parent, just to improve the relationship. And then if the child is at immediate risk, they will separate the child from the parent, which is often avoided if possible, but again, the main priority is determining a safe environment. Now, there's a lot of controversy when it comes to CPS and their goals and their drive to protect children, as often it can be a very scary thought to remove a child from their norm environment. Although it may not be healthy for them, it definitely leaves a terrible feeling for some people to maybe have contributed to that, to separating a child from their parent. But in their best interest, it sometimes has to be done. So CPS works closely with the court as well in determining parent custody if that is a necessary component. Now, Child Abuse Prevention Month was in April, and the color that represents the Child Abuse Prevention Month is the color blue, which is meant to symbolize bruises and harm of the children that have experienced abuse. Now, although abuse can be a major thing with children and anyone under the ages 18, it is also seen in all ages. So it's definitely something to bring awareness to and just have a self-awareness of, and knowing when to make a report if you feel the need to. And thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope you learned something.